yeah, we ain't Brad Pitting it, but we're gonna listen to some Achilles' Last Stand. We're going to listen to Led Zeppelin with this track. We're going to go ahead and dive into it. I've heard so many things about this particular song. I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. I didn't even properly welcome you guys back to the channel, but in case I didn't, which I just said I didn't, welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for being here. So we're gonna dive into this one. This is off of their album Presence, which was released in 1976. This is actually the first track on the album. Now I gotta tell you something. Not that I'm like overly familiar with Led Zeppelin, even though we've covered a few albums and songs from the band. I have never in my life heard of this album Presence. Maybe it's because their other albums, especially the album covers, have just become such icons that I'm familiar at least with knowledge of, like, surface knowledge of the album covers, the names of the albums. I mean, how can you forget them? They're Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, etc. Physical Graffiti, even. Like, I've heard these albums even if I've not heard these albums. But I have never in my life heard of the album Presence. So we're going to go ahead and listen to the first track. Like I said, this has been recommended ad nauseum for a long, long time by many, many people. But just to name a few of you here on the channel: Gog, Sandinson, Ricardo Pizzagello. I see Marlia Cygnus here. Cujo, K Fleetwood, I believe you got this one as well. Pulsar 77, Zen Clover 84, Greg Davis, One Merlin, Bill Jara, Matthias Levis, It's question mark, Richard Benbow. Honestly, I could keep going. Tony Etchells, Master of Parsnips, Miss M. Silverthorpe. I'm sorry. And it just goes. Actually, I think I've reached the end of the list. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get into the track. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I hope I enjoy it, which, let's be honest, I probably will. And besides that, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab something, grab your friend, grab your dog, grab your cat. Let's go ahead and give it a listen. Let's go. That's hot. That's a hot. I love Bonham's groove on this. Heavy yet sleek. I like how Page's solo calls to action and calls to change. There's so much happening in this song. What an exciting listen that was. Let me like contextualize this reaction specifically. You guys are here watching a reaction video of me, just a regular guy, listening to Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin. Let me explain one thing really quick. I love doing this. I love doing my reaction channel. I love listening to music. I always was going to listen to music and explore music on my own, which I've always done, and it just made sense once I saw people doing reaction channels. I was like, hey, I can do that too, because I like pretty much everything. I'll just listen to music, right? And I say this sometimes. I know that some people, how to say this? I know that some people say like they're keeping this music alive and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I don't do this. I don't do this to keep any of this music alive. I'm doing this because I want to listen to music. I'm doing this because I want to find stuff for me to listen to. There's a totally selfish reason for me, for me doing this reaction channel. It's because I want to find stuff for me. I don't care who's listening to this. You see the artists and bands that I explore on the channel aren't always like the most popular. I don't care. I'm just looking for new stuff for me to listen to. I'm a completely selfish reaction channel. That's who I am. So when it comes to stuff like this, which has been mentioned over and over in the comments, which I always knew I would listen to at some point, I would just work my way there. I'm excited to hear it. Because you guys know my taste by now. You kind of know what I like and what I don't like. And when I hear or when I see songs that are continually recommended to me, I'm excited to get into it. When it's a band like Led Zeppelin, which they have a certain pedigree of talent and skill and musicianship that I know I'm going to get something good. More than likely, I'm going to get something really good listening to them. I'm going to get something out of it for myself personally. This ain't the crunch. This is Achilles' Last Stand, and this was such a fun adventure for me to listen to. Sometimes it's hard for me to even like go back and get into a song and dissect it to talk to you guys about it and my thoughts during it, because sometimes And this is one of those times I'm just listening to it and enjoying the journey. And I think a lot of people have noticed that about my channel. I don't really act out that much. I mention things sometimes, but I'm just kind of here chilling. I'm just kind of listening to the music, and we'll talk about it after. And this is one that I was just listening with bated breath for every roundabout onto the corner of what's coming next. What are Led Zeppelin going to do next? This song was just very exciting for me to listen to, is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, how to dig into this one. Because you can look at every single member and what they're bringing to the table, as you always can. But everyone just stands out so much in here. So let me start from one way, and then I'll work myself into where I want to elaborate more. Bonham. I've mentioned it many times, and I'm sure many others have as well, but I love how his style is so powerful. The drum sound, the production on it is so big and rounded out, and yet at the same time, he hits it hard, but he also hits it with a certain grace. There's a certain slyness, there's a certain foxiness to the way that he presents himself on the drums. He's not a bull in the china shop, so to speak. He's a bull, but he's planning on where he wants to crash. He plans what he wants to hit and what he wants to destroy and what he wants to shatter and what he wants to just kind of grace. Maybe graze it. That's how I think of Bonham's style. Powerful, but with a certain kind of elegance. John Paul Jones, who I continually have mentioned is the most underrated member of the band, here is just bringing such a deep, throbbing, and chunky bass into the mix here that is just so mellifluous, and I don't even know if I said the word right. I know what it means, I just don't know if I said it right. It just flows everything and kind of pulls the music into a flow. It kind of helps rein in, for example, Page's guitar, which is just like this wild man doing so many things that I can't even comprehend. But Paul Jones, his bass just pulls that in, kind of reins it in. And I just really love the sound of it. I love the mix in this particular track. Then Page and all of his guitar here. He goes from these wonderful atmospheres where the music is allowed to drift, especially in the early verses. You would especially hear it at the very end of the song as well. But in the verses, the guitar is just kind of allowed to drift, and everything else kind of fills in the space. And then, of course, you have the solos, which are a little bit more wild. You have those moments where you have those machine gun drums. Like, it's just really fun. This is a very vibrant track. And then, also excuse me because I feel like not my voice is going, but something like it. So I'm sorry if I pause sometimes. Then you have Robert Plant, who his performance in here is very subdued. I love his performance and his delivery in here. Because, yeah, you have the Plant that cries out and not shrieks, but yells in a certain way. And it sounds great. I love that power he brings. But here we have a little bit more of a subdued Plant. And the way I was kind of thinking about it, after looking into the lyrics a little bit more, was I think there is an adventure of some sort going on in this track. But his vocals sound, what's the word? Well-traveled. That's kind of what I mean. But world weary. In the sense of, he sounds experienced. He sounds mature. He sounds like he's traveled the world. He's seen a lot of things. He's experienced a lot of things. And he's coming back to this particular track a more experienced, a more nuanced, and a more mature singer. I'm not speaking to his character. I'm speaking to strictly his voice in here and the way he's singing in lieu of the lyrics, the thematic elements. That's what it kind of feels like to me. And I love the way that he presents himself in here. It's just built from subtlety, and it's just a very beautiful thing to hear. I especially like in some places, especially the verse, I guess you could say, how Plant kind of floats along on Page's guitar. They have this wonderful atmosphere together. And I know that Plant isn't an underrated singer necessarily, but I think that it's in moments like this that his singing stands out even more. Yeah, it's fun to listen to those high notes and, you know, that's awesome. I can never do that, as you just heard. But it's these moments right here that kind of make it real and make a different kind of impact, almost a hitting a different emotional branch, so to speak. And I just really enjoyed that here in the track. Wonderful one. Let's get into these lyrics. It was an April morning when they told us we should go. And as I turned to you, you smiled at me. How could we say no? With all the fun to... Is this Get 'Em Out by Friday? With all the fun to have to live the dreams we always had. Oh, the songs to sing when we at last return again. So I gotta tell you, at first I actually just thought this was going to be like a mythological retelling of Achilles' Last Stand. I thought we were going to get kind of a Brad Pitt thing going on. Which, by the way, Troy is actually a pretty good movie. That's one of those movies you can always put on. But apparently not. Sending off a glancing kiss to those who claim they know. Below the streets that steam and hiss, the devil's in his hole. Oh, to sail away, better get him out of there, to sandy lands and other days. Oh, to touch the dream hides inside and never seen. So this is what I'm kind of thinking about this. I don't know who's telling this couple to go exactly. It could be a living situation. It could be something else. But regardless, it's the end of hold on, I have the word. It's the end of not their relationship, but of a certain shelter, a certain safety net. Let's just say, for example, it's a landlord kicking tenants out of a house. There's an end to not, of course, their relationship, but like I said, their home, their shelter. So they're being moved from their place of comfort somewhere outside of their comfort. That's what I'm kind of getting out of this. Which, I haven't read the rest, but relating to Achilles' Last Stand, a strong, proud warrior, very well known, making a last stand, but in the end losing because of one minor area of weakness. So, here, with this couple being removed from their place of security, their high lauded place, like Achilles in his high moments, they've been hit with something maybe a bit unexpected, not so, like, showy, maybe not something that would be obvious or that everyone would notice, something small, but still removes them from their place. So that's what I'm kind of feeling, at least lyrically so far. I might take my words back as we go on. Into the sun, the south, the north, at last the birds have flown. Shackles of commitments fell in pieces on the ground. Oh, to ride the wind, to tread the air above the din. Oh, to laugh aloud, dancing as we fought the crowd. To seek the man whose pointing hand the giant step unfolds. Coltrane? To guide us from the curving path that turns our feet to stone. If one bell should ring in celebration for a king, so fast the heart should beat, as proud the head with heavy feet. Now I'm losing it. Now I'm not so sure. But we are getting some sort of journey about this path and the man pointing, a bell ringing, heavy feet, so we're getting walking. So we are getting some sort of movement, at least. Days went by when you and I bathed in eternal summer's glow. As far away and distant our mutual child did grow. Oh, the sweet refrain soothes the soul and calms the pain. Oh, Albion remains, sleeping now to rise again. Well, let's take a look at who this Albion is, because maybe that's a mythological figure that would give us some insight into this. I do see that apparently it's a video game, it's an MMO, and I also see that it's a college. I also see that it's an alternative name for Great Britain. So the more you know. Wandering and wandering, what place to rest? The search. The mighty arms of Atlas hold the heavens from the earth. I know the way, I know the way, I know the way. And then it actually just repeats from there. So we do have some sort of reference to gods with Atlas, even though of course you just have him holding up the earth. But here it says he holds the heavens from the earth. Like I said, I think that they're being removed from their place of some sort, and they're wandering. There's movement, there's travel, there's something happening like that. Let's actually look at the article for it, because that's where we're going to find a little bit more information here. It says that guitarist Jimmy Page and Robert Plant began writing the song in the summer of '75 and were influenced by Eastern music, mythology, and exposure to diverse cultures during the summer of 1975. Looks like here. I'm just trying to read through some of the information here. It says after their 1975 U.S. tour, the band took a break from performing. In order to remain tax exiles, the group members needed to limit their time in the UK. This is alluded to in the song's opening lines. It was an April morning when they told us to go. And as I turned to you, you smiled at me. How could we say no? Well, that's why you couldn't say no. You had to go. For those reasons, it says that Page heard local music, which influenced his guitar parts. This is when they're in Morocco, which influenced his guitar parts on this particular track. It also says that North African music and Middle Eastern music inspired other songs, like No Quarter, excuse me, Kashmir, Friends, and Four Sticks, the latter two which I have never heard. It says that although some mythological imagery is drawn from William Blake's Albion, the Atlas myth, and the Greek hero Achilles, its lyrics center around the group's travels during their exile. Well, that explains it. So I thought it was a couple, but it's actually kind of an autobiographical take on the group at this particular time. The title is an ironic reference to Plant's August automobile accident in which he severely injured his ankle as Achilles was brought down by an arrow to his tendon. Plant was unable to walk for a year and recorded much of this album in a wheelchair. Hey, however you got to get it done, you get it done. So this is actually interesting. This is a completely different, like, that's why it's interesting, at least to me. This is why I love doing like the lyrical part too, is because I love coming up with my own thoughts based on the lyrics, but then you get the actual, like what it actually means and where they actually got it from. But anyways, that's fantastic. I see here, looking at the reception of the song, it got mostly positive reviews. And I see that Rolling Stone journalist Stephen Davis wrote, Achilles' Last Stand could be the Yardbirds 12 years down the road. The format is similar. John Bonham's furiously attacking drum is really the lead instrument until Page comes in, etc., etc., etc. And then John Young of Spin lambasted the song. He said, nothing could be less satisfying than 10 minutes of Achilles' Last Stand. A simultaneously abrasive and boring ordeal. Now, I gotta tell you, I can totally understand if someone doesn't like a song, because there's not one song in the world that everyone just loves. Everyone can dislike a song or like a song. So, music is subjective. However, I don't think you could call this song boring. Out of everything, I understand not liking it, but I don't think you could call it boring. That's a bit of a stretch if you ask me. Anyways, let's end the video. Fantastic track, unlike what's his name again? John Young. Let me know what you guys thought of the track. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you all for the recommendations as well. I appreciate you guiding me, leading me, walking with me, traveling with me into this exact point, into this moment of time. We were able to share this moment together. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the music. Of course, you're more than welcome and you're invited to comment down below. Please like the video before you leave. You can subscribe if you haven't already. You can support the channel and what I do on Patreon if you'd like to help me out. You don't have to, but for obvious reasons it helps. But at the very least, if you don't mind, just liking the video before you leave. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Bye. Even though I just said enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye.